You know what? I'm glad that
I washed my hair today, and
have
now
too.
it's all kinked by my ears.
I haven't washed my hair Friday.
It had been
can't.
quite a few days for me.
Thursday.
My hair lady got on to me when I went in the last time to get my
I fixed my bra.
to get my hair dyed. I was like, it fades so fast, and she's like, "How often are you washing your hair?" I'm like, "Every other day." She's like, "Oh, you can't do that," and I'm like, "What?" Like, so now I'm supposed to go 3 to 4 days, and she says that I can
Train your hair.
train my hair,
Mhm.
which is fine.
It's hard at first.
But yesterday and this morning, I felt like I had a bird's nest on my head from all the dry shampoo and all the nastiness. So I was like, I need to wash it. But it was the best experience ever this morning in the shower when I finally got to scrub my head. So I'm training my hair, guys.
I do 3 to 4 days.
I'm training my
Yeah,
hair.
I do too.
My
It used to be
hair does
easier.
not like to be trained.
Oh, it used to be easier for me because my hair was thicker before my last pregnancy, my last 2 pregnancies, pregnancy. But I'm going bald now.
I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it when my hair doesn't smell good. Like, I like to be able to smell my hair.
Well, you're
It's like the girl with the armpits thing on SNL.
So I don't like to.
SNL thing. I
She's
don't
get
know.
any-
I don't get any of the SNL.
Can you
Oh
go
my
down an
gosh.
SNL rabbit hole now, please? Can you just start?
Sweaty balls.
Send
and
me the
just
best
start
episode to hook me in, and I'll try my very best.
Did I
God,
send you
there-
the sweaty balls thing?
There's no like best episode. It's best skits. Like the
skits,
episodes
yeah.
get kind of tedious.
Yeah.
So should I
agree.
start at the beginning? Should I start in the
No.
80s, 90s?
I feel like 90s, early 2000s were probably the best. Like I didn't watch before that though, so I
You're
don't.
simply the best.
I will say that
No.
you can find
Okay.
a lot of historic ones, like
Historic.
older ones. But one of my absolute favorite ones,
Vintage.
one of my absolute favorites is Peyton Manning. Do you remember? He came in when he was actually playing, and there was like a Peyton Manning like coaching little kids football skit, and he'd like throw them in like porta potties and push the porta potties over and stuff. I don't know. It's hilarious, but
Again, with the potty stuff.
Potty talk.
one
We
of my
don't have
favorites.
potty talk at the dinner table in my house.
We don't talk about potty talk on the podcast because Mom doesn't like it.
I'm the mom. I know.
I will start with the Peyton Manning episode and give my best efforts to try to get lost into the SNL world.
So the Peyton Manning episode probably isn't the best. The classic is Superstar, like the Molly Shannon stuff.
The Molly Shannon
the Molly
stuff.
Shannon's
Yeah.
movie Superstar was based off of SNL, and like
don't know what that
And you
is.
have the cheerleaders with
yeah.
what's his name?
taco burrito.
Yeah,
What's
the
coming out of your
cheerleaders.
Speedo?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Will
Potty
Ferrell,
talk.
Will Ferrell, and
Will
Molly
Ferrell and
Shannon.
Molly Sh-
Right?
No,
And
no, it wasn't Molly
It
Shannon.
wasn't Molly Shannon.
No.
Who was it?
Oh,
I don't
Anyway.
remember.
It's
her name.
It-
I
they-
can see her face.
It's so funny. But yeah, that was the Superstar ones came from that, where she'd stick her hands under her armpits and then go.
She had one where she was like a waitress.
Hilarious.
It was so funny.
All right.
Okay.
I will.
What are we
I'll
talking?
see
What are we
that.
talking about today?
I don't know. We're talking about SNL today, right?
Oh, I thought that was
Right?
No, we have a
SNL.
write-in, don't we?
Yeah, we have a write-in, or we
Okay.
could talk about what you were talking about.
3 Deadliest Sins.
Yeah,
Oh, I like this one.
yeah. She has
So-
Rebecca brought us a topic today.
I did. So I'm coining it 3 Deadliest Sins of our clients. Meaning, what are the 3 worst mistakes, dumbest shit, biggest fuck ups that your client can do for you, to you, while being engaged with you as their client? Like, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have to go first since you guys have to think about it.
Yeah. I think
Which I
that'll
can.
be good for you to go first. I have a few, but I'm trying to think if there's anything that's like
Yeah, like,
real bad.
so that, like,
A couple, but they're not like. I mean, we
because here's the
deal.
reality: it's just as important for clients to be a good client as it is for service providers to be a good service provider. I have to bring, a good attitude and professionalism and careful with people's things and all these things that I need to do to be a good home stager for my client. I think it's equally important that everybody take the mentality of how do I be a good client for my service provider so they can do the best job that I'm paying them to do.
Mhm.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm
Yeah,
about
oh
to,
yes, please tell us.
because I feel like you'll
Please go
Need me to.
first.
like. I think the number one thing for me is for clients to take the staging recommendations personally, meaning thinking that it is what I think about their home or their style or their taste. They take it personal. If I'm like, hey, we're going to have to remove, I always use drapery as an example because it's a huge one. We're going to have to take down all the drapes in the house. Typically, it has nothing to do with it actually never has anything to do with what I think about the drapes as far as design or scale or anything, how they're hung. It's about what they're doing to the light filtration into the house, right? The goal of taking the drapes down is to make sure as much natural sunlight is coming into the house. But I'll tell people sometimes they're just fucking ugly and they're hung wrong. They're the wrong size.
Ugly.
Or they're old or
They're
dated.
dated.
Yeah.
They're
Sometimes
all
they
that.
are.
Sometimes that is it, but that's not why I'm asking. It is a benefit to take them down, but that's not why I'm asking you to take them down. I'm asking you to take them down because they are blocking natural sunlight, which is mission critical with our MLS pictures, right? So I'll tell people like, oh, we're going to remove this, or we're going to take down the artwork, or I'm going to rearrange furniture, or I'm going to take out some of the decor. I'm going to minimize decor because there's too much. And people take it personally and offensive, and they think that it's me saying your shit's ugly. You have an ugly house, right? I think that's like the very number one thing that homeowners need to recognize. And I'm gonna focus on the homeowner as my client, not the agent. I could do this two different ways because I've got my agent client, my homeowner client. So number one is that they are taking.
Do we each need 3?
Yeah, I think we each.
Oh,
three-
I thought
three
we were
biggest
each
sins.
doing 1 and there'd be 3.
No,
You'll-
So really,
so
this
be
is
thinking
9.
about Oh, 9.
God.
Okay, so
well, the 3 biggest sins of your client.
Oh,
So my number one is like
your
take-
number one is that.
is taking it personal. What the
Okay.
recommendations are.
You want to go next for either your number one?
Oh, we're gonna like do one.
I
Yeah,
don't
one.
care.
Okay, what's your number one?
Okay. My number 1 would be not taking down all of the artwork and wall hangings that need to be packed before we arrive.
And then y'all have to take them down?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
not prepping and bringing the
We-
stuff together.
Yes, we send an email about a week ahead of a move of a pack job where we say all the things that need to be done. And that is number 1 on the list. If you have artwork hanging on the walls or shelves, those floating shelves some people want to take with them and stuff, we ask for it to be taken down.
So you
And-
can actually pack
Yes,
it.
and leaned up
Yeah.
against the walls, or put in a pile somewhere so we can pack them. And I would say 10% of my clients actually do that.
And the reason being, I'm assuming because it's so time consuming for your team.
It takes forever. I mean, and some of them are really heavy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not, I mean, I
Do
don't
you have
typically
something where, like-
bring people who can do it. I mean, 1 or 2 things, yeah, but we had a house that we went to one time where it was a 3-day pack job, and it took us an entire day to take down all of the artwork and then pack just the artwork. I
So
mean,
do
we
you
had
ever-
5 people.
Do you ever like go back
just
and
packing
charge
artwork.
if they don't follow your prep instructions? Do you go back and charge because that should be in your
No.
contract?
No,
You should
Or do you,
but
refuse to pack it.
yeah, do you just say,
No.
look, while we're doing the kitchen stuff,
I
we
have
really
asked
need
that.
you
We have gone and
this.
said, "Oh, hey, can you go start taking down your
Yeah,
artwork
absolutely.
or your
Yeah.
shelving or
because
whatever
that's
it is?"
not really what we do.
And occasionally, they'll need a set of hands to help. If something's heavy or big, they'll be like, "Well, I couldn't take that down because, oh, okay, well, here, take this person and they can go help you." But that is a difficult when we arrive and nothing is ready as far as things off the
They
walls.
didn't follow your prep instructions.
Yes. So I would say that's a big one.
Okay, Heather, you're number 1.
My number one is, and I don't think we've talked about this hardly ever, is not showing your house, declining
Oh.
showing appointments. It absolutely drives me crazy because if you don't show your house, you're not selling your house, and so we can.
Why would someone
we-
decline a showing?
Um,
I see it. I hear agents complain about it. Why would
I
they?
think-
We've had to decline showings before when our kids are really little, like if they need a nap,
Nap,
or
yes.
if there's just nothing like.
Well, and I try really hard to ask about things like that, like what's your nap time, or if you work from home, are there certain times of day that you can't show the house?
We had
that
to
kind of thing.
decline some because Mark had meetings.
Yes.
Like it was COVID and he had to be on like a video call and like there was nowhere else to be. So
And I'm
yeah.
not talking about like 1 or 2. I'm talking about if I see 4 or 5 showings in a day being declined, I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Because we've done everything to set the listing up for success.
And all you need is that one right buyer.
Exactly. And I this is what I tell people. If you can show your home as much as possible in that first week, it's going to help you so much. So really try to be agreeable to showing the house as much as you can. Approve those appointments. I know it's a pain. I know it's painful. I know it's a pain in the ass to have your house listed because you have to take care of the kids and the dogs and make sure it's prep ready and all
You got to
that.
make sure it looks like it's supposed to
looks like
look.
it's supposed to look. But declining showings is not like leading us where you've told me that you want to go. And that's nothing that I can do. I have no ability to affect that.
You can't control that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably why that's like my number one thing when I see that come through.
And I've seen, like, I had an agent probably about a year ago, had this house. It was really hard. She was having a hard time selling it. And it was more than a year ago because it was kind of during when everything was going fast. And she had it priced properly, all these things. And so I was talking to her. I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, he's declining half of the showings. I was like, oh, yeah, of course. This was also the same house that when we went to pick up, he and his 2 massive dogs had moved back in because it was vacant. And they had destroyed, I mean, I had to throw away almost everything that came out of the house because the dogs had destroyed everything.
He didn't want to sell the house. Yeah.
If they're fighting the process of the agent and the stager and all the people, they don't actually want to sell their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be a subconscious thing, but that's true.
Okay, what's your second thing?
Okay, my number 2 is
You said number 2.
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
no potty talk at the podcast. That is the rule.
Oh,
I have spoken.
Number 2 is, and I always say this to my homeowners, if you're living in the house through the selling process, when we're done staging, leave the house as close to the stage condition within reason as possible through the selling time. Until your agent says we have a secured contract, we are through option period, you have to keep your house as it is presenting online. Because if you go and make changes, big ones, little ones, or you start having your life spread all over it again, that is going to impact the showings of the house, and it's going to negatively impact whether what you think was good or bad that you did. You're like, oh, I didn't like how she hung this art, or I didn't like this. You're making changes from what they saw online and the impression they have online, and then they show up.
It's like catfishing.
It's like catfishing, and it creates confusion in the buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Get it staged, trust the process, and leave it that way.
Leave it alone. Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Also, things fall through at the last minute.
Oof.
So
They do.
leave it alone until you are moving out of your house.
Well, until you have that secured contract, until your agent is like, we're good, we're through option period.
Even when you have a secured contract.
Well, but there's like getting through financing and
sometimes things happen.
sometimes number 2.
Sometimes they happen.
Yeah, they do.
And
They do.
You already moved out, and then you have to.
I mean, and then you have to
redo the whole thing.
thing.
I've had to restage houses, and it sucks because my agents are like, well, how much is it going to cost for you to come back and restage
Same
it?
amount.
Same
Well,
amount,
or more
sure.
because you have to bring furniture in. Because when it happened to us,
from that
it happened the day that we moved out of the house. So there wasn't any furniture left in the
No.
house. So it had to
We
go
didn't
back
end up-
on the market.
yeah.
Is
we
that
didn't
pre?
end up
Is that
bringing
pre me?
It was pre you.
Oh, yeah.
It was my
That was a
first
long time
house.
ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
But yeah, I mean, what was it, 2 days before closing that it fell through? Because
And
they
that happens.
suddenly had something on their credit report that they hadn't seen before. A bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't seen a bankruptcy on their credit report.
Yeah, it was
Until 2
bizarre.
days
and they
before
were trying
closing.
to do like a VA loan, and
It
then
was-
yeah. And then we waited about a week later to see if it
Mhm.
could close, because that's always what you try to do is keep the deal together. Yeah, and then we ended up going back on market, and I think what I did was I did like big pictures
Yeah.
within the house of it and how
I don't even know that I saw it after we moved out of it, but I do know that it was a headache.
It
for
is. It's a
everybody
huge thing.
involved.
It's
I've had to
painful.
restage houses, and it sucks.
Mhm.
It sucks
Yeah.
for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my number 2 is that homeowners make changes to the house between it being completed from staging and pictures to when they have their secured contract.
Mm-hmm.
That is mine.
What's your number 2?
Oh, geez. See, I had my one. Okay, I'm gonna dovetail off of the other one just a little bit. It's another preparation thing. The other thing that we tell our homeowners to do before we arrive is to pack up what they'll need for the next week. So what I tell them
Oh.
is act like you're going on a week-long vacation and pack a suitcase for every family member and pets. Okay? Like act like you are going on a road trip for a week and you need everything in that suitcase that you could possibly need between now and next week at this time. And because a lot of them don't realize that it's a process that can become disorganized very quickly. So, you think, oh, I'm moving today. I'm going to be in my new house tomorrow, and I'll be fine. I'll just get the dog food when I get there. I'll get whatever when I get there. And there's 200 boxes just sitting in your new house. And you're like, oh, shit, where's the dog food?
Right.
Like my
Yeah.
dog hasn't eaten.
Right.
So we try really hard to help people be prepared on that as far as bring what you need with you. You're always going to forget something, but at least it'll minimize what you have to run to Walmart for or
Yeah.
what you have to order in. But people just they don't think about that. And what we've had that has really held up our process before is they don't think about it until you walk in the door, and then they're
And then they have to
running
pack.
around
Yeah.
like crazy,
Trying to find
pulling things out of boxes, and they're basically making the job last longer because they are not prepared.
Yeah.
So
it
that's
and getting in your way.
yes, that's really been a struggle for us a lot of times, is that people don't take advice, just go through the night before. We can make this process so easy on you, but you're going to make it harder on yourself if you don't just follow these couple of steps to get yourself ready for the job. So that gets very frustrating for us because, we quote our jobs based on an all-in time, and I buffer them a little bit to allow for if the art isn't down or whatever. I give it a little bit of extra when I quote it because I want to make sure that we'll have
covered.
time to help
Yeah.
if we need to. But it goes a lot faster and it's a lot less stressful if we don't have to do those things. So
Yeah, 100%.
what do you think? Number 2?
I think my number 2, I'm concentrating on sellers for these questions. So my number 2 with sellers is not responding to offers quickly. And that was happening when the market was really crazy, but it also happens when the market's not crazy and you have one offer and you don't respond to it for 48 hours. Like, it's not okay. And I usually
Do
tell
people wait that long?
Sometimes. And I understand work schedules. I understand discussions have to happen and things like that. But what I try and tell people is, be prepared for the offer and what you're willing to accept and things like that, so that when we get an offer in, we can respond within, I don't know, I would say like 12 hours is pretty reasonable. You get
12 hours, not business hours, 12 hours.
12 hours. You
Mhm.
get an offer in the morning at 8. I really would like to respond that evening.
Yeah.
If you get an offer at night, at 8 o'clock at night, I would really like to respond the next day by like noon. I think that is reasonable. And I think that
Buyers need that. They expect that.
they kind of expect it, and they also feel disrespected if you don't
Yeah.
act like that. So, I was
Time kills deals.
Who was I talking? Oh, I was talking to a potential seller. I went to talk to them about listing their house with me. They'd been with another realtor, and they had talked about how their realtor presented them an offer, and they thought that she'd responded to the offer, but she actually hadn't responded to the offer for like 2 days or something. And I was like,
But she had the response from the homeowner?
yes. And I don't know there was a lot of stuff apparently going on in that agent's life, and I get that. But like, they lost that offer.
Yeah.
And that was that agent's fault. But I have had sellers who sort of want to sit on something and like wait for a better offer or whatever. And I just feel like it really disrespects the buyer, and the fact that you have someone who's wanting to buy your house, who has fallen in love with your house. They're excited about the possibility of owning your house. And if you're not sort of respecting that and responding to it,
The excitement goes away.
The excitement goes away, and then they end up being offended, and they're like, well, screw you. I'm taking my offer and going and making
There's another house I
one.
love just as much. And they sometimes are on a time crunch too. Like, they need to get a house under contract because they need to move somewhere.
It's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those do unto others types of things. Like,
Yeah.
if you go and you make an offer on a house and you're super excited about it, you want a response as quickly as possible,
Mhm.
and you need to do that for other people as well. So that would be my second one, is just not responding to offers quickly.
That's fair. I agree with that because I know when I've put offers in, I sit there and I'm like, what is it? What they say? What they say? What they say? What they say?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know I do that.
Oh yeah, I do know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, number 3. My number 3 is, so it's kind of, there's 2 ways to look at it when it's a homeowner. Like, for our vacant stages, I have a clause in the contract. We have exclusive access for 24 hours, meaning nobody else can be on the property. There's actually a clause in my contract that says for every head that shows up on site while we're working there 24 hours, it's a $250 fee.
Because you have to deal with it.
I have to deal with it. They get in
Yeah.
our way. It's a liability for us, all the things. No, number one, well, for the vacants, why I say nobody there is because it is a liability for us. Like we've had it where like the grandma and the kids want to come by and see it because they think it's cute and they want to watch the process. And then all of a sudden the 3-year-old kid's trying to like run up to my box truck. That's if that kid falls off the back of the box truck, guess who's coming down on? So it's a liability for me. The biggest thing is like to protect my team's time because a lot of time, I mean, I have a tight, small little crew. Like I run a very tight
ship.
I really do. And a lot of times they have 3 and 4 houses to be in one day. So if all of a sudden it's noon and they're like, yeah, we're still at house number 2. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? They're like, well, the plumber's here, this here, and that. We couldn't get in. They had the front door was being painted. So I do have a clause with a penalty for vacants because I can kind of control that a little bit more. And I get real pissed off. Like, and I'll tell homeowner, like if it's a vacant, I'm like, hey, we're here trying to deliver. We can deliver. Like sometimes what I'll do, I'll be like, we'll go ahead and deliver this. I'm not coming back to set up your stage until all these contractors are done and out. Like your house isn't getting staged until you've met this because it slows us down and it gets in my way. So there's that. But on the occupied side, it's really hard because I can't force homeowners to not be there while I'm in their home with their stuff. And I understand that and I respect. But if the homeowner is going to be there and be on my heels and talking to me or asking me questions or wanting to help, like if you really want to help,
you'll put them to work.
I will put you to work with very specific grunt work, like go get all the toiletries out of your shower, go take all the dog dishes and put them away.
Which really should have already been done.
Which should have already been done, but I don't want your opinion on how to hang the art or how to like. You're gonna put well, how should I do in the next house? Or I like this pillow. I don't give a fuck what pillow you like. Like, get out of our way so we can go in and do this job because on the occupied side of it, guess who's paying for my time there?
Me, usually.
So what happens is when the homeowners are there, and sometimes it's helpful for if a homeowner is really going to resist the staging process, it is better for them to stay through part of it because I can walk them through it, talk them through it so they don't come home to a complete twilight zone.
I always find that it's like a blessing and a curse for my sellers to stay during staging.
Yeah,
and I
because
think
sometimes they slow us down. Sometimes I can talk them through the process and they receive it better if they're going to have a hard time with it. So it's a double-edged sword for that part.
It really
but
is.
Get out of the service provider's way. Let them trust the process, trust what they're doing. And that's the best, like trust that you have hired a professional to do it and let them do what they need to do and get out of the way. Whether you go sit in the office and twiddle your thumbs or you go get a coffee, whatever, just get out of there. So that's my number 3.
I think that is probably very similar to mine in that my thought goes to unpacking jobs, right? We talk a lot about packing jobs and the prep work.
Is this your number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
just making sure I'm keeping everything in line.
Yeah. So my number 3 would be when we're unpacking at home, we'll always ask the homeowner, and I think about kitchens, but it's really for any space. I'll always ask the homeowner, do you have any thoughts of where you want to put things? As far as, you're got a whole kitchen. Do you know where you want your plates? Do you know where you want your silverware? Do you know where you want whatever? And if they have opinions, great. Give me your opinions.
But give you your opinion before
But give it to me
do
at the beginning.
Work. Yeah.
Because
I can see that
we
coming.
have had homeowners who say,
you do what you want.
It's all you. You're the expert. You know where things should go. You know what makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds awesome. And my crew starts unpacking and they're halfway unpacked and the homeowner has pulled everything out and is putting things different places. And not only does it slow us down, then we're like, oh my gosh, like, well, you just put your drinking glasses over your stove, your fridge is all the way over here. And then we're having to not only, we're basically trying to negotiate like, okay, well, we really needed this space for these pots and pans because this is the only one where they fit. But you just took that and put your Waterford china or crystal or whatever it is down there, and so we're having to not only slow down, then we feel like we're leaving with a job that is not done to our standards because we know this doesn't make sense. And so that's been very difficult for me. It's only happened in a couple of homes. Usually if someone's going to pay the money to have us come in and unpack and set up their home for them, they are more than willing to take a hands-off approach. And, and what I've told them before in these instances is I love that you have an opinion and you want to be involved. Let us.
I love that you have an opinion.
I love that for you.
Yes.
For you, not for me.
Let us just finish this. And then at the end, if we need to tweak some things, we'll tweak some things. But coming in when we're halfway through unpacking coffee mugs and pulling the 10 that we have in there out of the cabinet and putting something else there, and then just because most of the time these people will do it for about 5 minutes, they'll lose interest and they'll go somewhere else. And so then we're stuck with a half full cabinet of spices
That doesn't
and
belong there.
coffee mugs all over the counter. And we're just like, okay, so do we take the spices out and put the coffee mugs back in? Do we follow? So it makes it so much more difficult. It's like, if you have opinions, but have them at the beginning. We have no problem with
Or more
opinions,
importantly,
but just
trust
like
the process. You've hired a professional.
That's the whole
Yes.
thing.
Trust that
Yeah.
you've hired the right professional and let them do their job. And then at the end,
yes.
you can go back.
Or
and
if there's something that's really bothering you, like
tell the lead.
tell them, or just let them leave and then be like, yeah, I don't really like this here.
gonna
I'm
change it
going to
real
move
quick.
it. It's
Yeah.
going to take you 10 minutes to
Yeah.
pull this cabinet and this cabinet and swap them.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, but that can be on you. And so that is one thing that really gets
Chaps your
frustrating.
From the
hide.
back- from
Yeah.
the
What does
back
that
end.
mean? Chaps your
Grinds
hide.
my gears.
Grinds your gears. I thought grinding gears was good.
What's your third?
No, grinding gears is
No.
not good.
Oh.
It hurts the car.
They're not supposed to grind.
Oh.
They're supposed to flow, not grind.
Oh.
What's your third?
My third, again, is about showings.
'Kay.
Sellers staying in the
Oh,
house
gosh.
during showings kills it. It kills my soul.
One, I bet Kate's done it.
literally kills my soul.
Have you done it, Kate?
I've never stayed in the house. I've parked across the street and watched.
Okay, parking across the street is fine.
But
No,
I've
it's
never
not.
Okay, listen.
I've
don't-
never
but
stayed in the house.
Parking across the street is okay. Parking down the street is better. Both of those options are better than parking in the garage or parking in the driveway, which
Agreed.
I've had all of that. Don't stay on the property. That's
Yeah.
actually what I've started saying to sellers is not just don't be in the house, but don't stay on the property because it is oogie to buyers. And that's a technical term. I know I have to explain that term
Yes.
real quick,
Yes.
but
It's in our
any-
dictionary.
yeah.
We understand.
any
I feel
like
like we should publish a dictionary, like the three of us together.
Mhm.
We should like publish
dictionary of home.
no, just our dictionary.
Oh,
Like
ours.
fucking famboozled.
Yeah.
Oogie.
But it is. It like
Bean bottles.
It puts a buyer off. It puts a buyer off so badly
It
when a
does.
seller is there because they are going into the house. They're trying to imagine themselves in the house, and they feel stalked. They
Mhm.
feel rushed.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the feels that they don't want to feel in that home.
Unless
it's
you're
not
that homeowner
helpful.
who's then going to be like the voyeur and you're like, you're buying my home and I'm going to keep watching you.
Yeah, but that
That's the. I was
Sticky.
gonna go there with the Ring doorbells, but I decided to just
Did
leave that
I-
alone.
Did I ever tell you guys that my last house?
You listened to the buyers.
No,
and you
I-
chose
no,
the
no, no.
buyers
Yes,
because you
yes,
heard them
yes,
on the ring.
that-
Yes, I've
I know
heard
I've
that
told-
story.
I know I've told you that part.
Even though I
know-
told you not to listen to the damn ring.
I know I've told you that part, but listen, there's something else.
you're the worst client, Kate.
I am. She
She's
says
really
all
not,
these
but-
things because of me.
No, I know.
But
Yes, she
no,
does.
we had I'm trying to remember what it was, but
A
there was
candle or something.
it wasn't a camera. It wasn't cameras, but there was some kind of system. I think it was our not a Nest, but whatever, like the thermostat system,
Okay.
like that we had in our old house. It stayed with the old house. But we realized it wasn't cameras, but there was some way that like we were still connected to it. And we realized it later on that we still had the app on our phone that could operate the heat and the air conditioning
Did you fuck with them?
for the old house.
Did you fuck with them?
And I was like, oh, and Mark and I opened it one time and they had renamed it with their kids' names and stuff in their rooms. And I was like,
That's not good.
it felt very icky at
Yeah,
that
I feel
point.
like you're,
I was just like,
stealing their panties.
real icky. It was very weird.
Not stealing, but singing.
It was
maybe
like
Not
I
stealing,
could
but
see
singing.
into their house,
Sniffing?
and all it was
Why do we have to go there?
was like the thermostats, right?
Right.
Like we couldn't
But
hear or
still
see
feels
anything, but it
weird.
still felt weird because it was like that was my
Did
kids'
you feel like
rooms,
a
and
little
now
pervert?
yeah, it was very strange, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I could
uninstall
see
it,
that.
uninstall
Yeah,
it, take
I
it
could
off
see
my
that being
phone.
weird.
So you didn't fuck with them.
No,
Okay.
no, they were very sweet. Like no, I didn't want to.
If you
I
had
wanted-
the chance to have access to your neighbor's thermostat, would you fuck with him?
Abso-fucking-lutely. That isn't even a question. But the people who
I would
bought my
actually love
house
to help you do
when
that.
when we left, I wanted to just clean break. It's
Yeah.
their house now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's theirs
Yep.
to make memories
Yep.
and to take from this point on. And I didn't want to have anything like I liked them. I wanted to be kind to them, but it was very like it felt very intrusive when I realized, and I was like, oh my gosh, get it off my phone. I don't want this here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know how we digressed. Sorry, I took us off the
Oogie.
rails.
Oogie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ooginess. It's
Yeah.
the oogie thing. Yeah. But
Yeah,
that,
I've never tried to like stay on property or listen to or watch or I don't want to. And I'm nosy as fuck. And I have zero interest to watch people look at my house.
I parked. What I would do and there was a reason behind this. I would load up
you have dogs
everyone
and
in
stuff
the
like that.
car,
That's the thing.
and I would stay there until they arrived.
Which I don't blame you because there's a showing window. And sometimes if the showing window is 4 to 5, they don't come till 4:45
Yeah.
and you're being gone that whole time. Like and I tell people that. I get that. Like you can stay when you see them pull up, be ready
And that's
to make
what we
a
did.
beeline.
We would
That's
see
fine.
what do the vehicles
Totally
look
fine.
like, because then we would just circle back, and if the
Yeah.
vehicles were gone, we would know that we could
Sure.
come back.
And I get
But
that. That's
we've
not a
done that
problem.
where you
Right.
know you leave for the full hour
Yeah,
when
and
you
then
could have
left for 10
you could have left for
minutes.
10 minutes
Yes.
and
I
come
totally
back.
get
But
that.
no,
Yeah.
we've never been inside. Now I have gone. I don't think this was when we first moved here, so it was before you were working with us. When we bought our house in Wood Creek,
Mhm.
I remember touring, and I remember there being like this old grandpa and a bunch of cats in a house that we walked through, and like
Yeah,
we're
it's
walking a
Oh,
house, and
it's
we
terrible.
opened a door, and all of a sudden, like grandpa's in his bedroom, and we're like,
When I first got in the business, there were a lot. So this is 2011. So there were a lot more foreclosures and short sales. Like
Mhm.
there's none
Yeah,
now.
ton.
Thank God. Knock on wood. But there were a lot of those, and people were very angry that they had to leave, that they had to give up their house. They were not on board.
Yeah.
So I cannot tell you how many houses I went in with buyers
so creepy.
where it was literally like we were walking in and the whole family was just like there and doing their thing. Like there was cooking going on in the kitchen. There was kids doing their homework in their bedrooms. There was like we were literally walking into a whole family experience because they were not leaving.
Family excluded in sale.
Yes, exactly.
Except for grandpa, he can stay.
But it was like they
And the
weren't
cats.
going to leave. They
Ugh.
weren't going to make it. They weren't going to make
Ugh.
it easy.
Ugh.
They didn't want you to be there in the first place.
No.
Yes.
They didn't want to do anything, and I get emotionally, I get how that is. They don't want to do anything to help the process at all. But that's a good example of how not to help the process is to actually be in the house, like doing all your shit when
Right.
buyers are
You want to
walking
sabotage the sale of your house.
through. That's a good way to do it,
Mhm.
and a lot of people figured
did
that
it.
out back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are 3 deadliest sins of our clients. I'd love to
Yes.
hear like our clients talk about our 3 deadliest sins.
I agree.
We should all like bring a client and have
Oh,
them share
geez.
that.
That's a good
I don't
idea.
like criticism.
I'm not sure anyone likes criticism. I think it's interesting sometimes because people I've had this conversation with my
I
husband
have a
lately.
few
Like,
that
what
I
do
could come up with of the girls who work for me and stuff. I have a few things
Yeah.
that they do that I choose to turn a blind eye to, but
they probably do the same, and I think we're all.
Mhm.
I find it interesting to hear people how they think I operate or how because it's like stuff I don't see about myself, and so it's sort of fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where I can't hear it and I know it's like, I don't mind like, I like to take it and I may need to process it and sometimes my
Sure.
response isn't great, but I appreciate when people can come to me and be like, this.
I would like to hear it and then be given 48 hours to digest it before I have
That's
to
fair.
face anyone
Sure.
about it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like to be
Yeah.
confronted with it like
Confronted.
face to face.
Can you
'cause-
put it in writing and let me read it and process it and then we'll come back to the table?
Yes. I think that
Like snail mail.
yeah.
That's
Mail
why
it
it was a
to
good
me.
thing.
I like
mail it
mail.
to me.
Mail
I
it
like
to me.
snail
Spray
mail.
it with your perfume first, so it's like, remember the little like love letters with the perfume. Anyway,
I never got any love letters with perfume.
Well,
Was that
not
just me?
perfume.
Cologne for you.
Cologne. I
I
don't know.
like perfume.
I don't know. Mm.
I think we ought to do another round of this, and we ought to look at other perspectives, like for you with agents, or for me with
Mhm.
buyers,
Mhm.
and then for you maybe with your people,
Your organizers.
your organizers
organizing
themselves,
clients.
and saying,
Yeah.
yeah,
That'd be
I
a good one.
think, yeah.
I
We'll
think
see.
all of the things that we talked about, though, it's interesting because you could put them all in the preparation box. Like it's all
Most of mine,
it's
yeah.
all about prep work and like
Yes.
prepping people for what to expect during the process.
Yes.
Like for you, people taking down their stuff, like is there a different way that you can relay that to people to where you're really like, this needs to happen before I walk in the door? We're absolutely not doing this. You know what I mean? Or for you,
I
it's
think
like,
that-
this is what you do if your client is going to be there. This is what
Right.
the process that we're going to follow. Like you expect the agent to show up and introduce you and walk through, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like what your
And maybe part of it
expectations
for
are,
me is like you said, if your homeowner is choosing to stay on site for the occupied stage, you must be there to manage them.
manage them or at least do the introduction. And that's what I find that it is helpful when I know they're going to be there to show up.
Yeah,
and
you always do an
introduce you.
introduction, which is
And
helpful. It
yeah,
is.
because then you are setting the stage and I'm able to say, you can stay or you can leave. But if you stay, like she is either going to put you to work or you need to kind of leave her alone. Like
Yeah.
I try to kind of joke about that in like a passive aggressive, nice way. But like it's all about
Get out of her way.
It really is all about preparation though, and telling
And setting
people
the
like what to like.
expectations.
I try to set the expectation for showings and when can you show your house, and don't
Are
be
there
on
times you
property and-
can't that I can block those times so they're not requested?
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So it's all like about prep and telling people what to expect because these processes that we're talking about are not things that people do all the time. If you think about how many times people move or
Yeah.
if they buy or sell a house or whatever, it's the average is like what 5 in a whole lifetime.
I thought it was like every 7 years. Did I make that up?
I don't know the time frame. I guess I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
in general, like how many times.
The reality, let's say 4 to 8 times in your life you're going to move and sell a house.
It's
and
not
move.
very often.
No.
And people need to be prepped because they don't know what to expect.
They don't.
So.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. I've done it way more than that.
Yeah,
Well,
but you're
You're an anomaly.
You're an
I'm an
exception.
anomaly.
You're an anomaly.
especially
Case.
when
That's right.
when someone in the family has a job that like moves them around, like that's
Mhm.
gonna be more.
You're a
often.
military
Like, I
family
have-
or you have a job. Yeah.
I
You
have
get
a-
more used to it, I think, and it's less scary to.
I had a friend
do it.
whose husband was really high up like in retail, so he was like CFO,
Mhm.
CEO type stuff in retail. She literally told me they had moved like 13 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she was like prepped and ready all the time and knew how the process went and was not afraid to like buy or sell houses and stuff like that. Like she felt like she'd done it so many times. So someone like that needs less prep.
Mhm.
But someone who's done it 3 or 4 times in their life, they need a lot of prep.
The
They don't know what
people
to
that I
do.
work with that
Or
are like-
they've been in their home for 20 or 25 years
Yeah.
and they don't even know what they have.
Right.
and they just. I
It's
love
just
when I
all
walk in the
shoved
clients are
in
like,
attics.
whatever you need me to do. I'm like, nothing. They're like, so I can leave. I'm like, yeah, and they beat it. I'm like, best client ever. Most of the time, that comes from people that have gone through the process before. So I get it.
Right.
So there it is.
That's all
3
I got.
deadliest
Awesome.
sins.
That's it.
Awesome.